It's been some crazy weather. It has been howling after all the heat. Finally got a shitload of rain after the last episode, or the episode before. Came across a nice little red belly black snake right in front of my bike, and pretty cool. Anyway, it's been absolute chaos out here, but here we are. Welcome. This is Philosophy Actually Works, and if you haven't been here before, it's a series of episodes where I try to make things mostly with the wild clay that's found around here, in an effort to convey through practical and creative means what that might actually practically mean. So I'll do my very best. I do my very best, and I'm lucky enough to live out here, and it's a good backdrop to do this. Today's a pretty beautiful, clear day, pretty warm, but I expect it's going to turn. It's going to turn again, so got to try and find my way back to where I came from. Today we'll be talking about Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, something that's probably more familiar to a lot of people than most of the ancient philosophies. So Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations while he was surrounded by chaos, war, political chaos, and all of this. He was trying to deal with the constant inconvenience of trying to be philosophical while the world refused to cooperate. This morning started with the perfect, beautiful weather that could have just gone out and got stuck in to working with clay, collecting some buckets from down by the creek or wherever, somewhere, see if I could find some new clay somewhere else. After the wild weather, reasonably clear skies, just would have been nice to just be out there and doing that. And Marcus Aurelius would have called this preferred indifference. Nice weather to have, certainly not essential for making the work itself. And he probably never tried to make pottery in a thunderstorm. Everything I did make has been affected by that, and I'm sure he would have approved of the lesson that I did learn, how we learn about what we can control and what we can't control. The Stoicism teaches us to distinguish between what's up to us and what's not up to us. And the weather is definitely not up to us, but how we respond to the weather, that's definitely up to us. And it's the only thing that actually is. Every morning I have to go out and feed all the horses in the paddocks. They'll still want to be fed, whether it's good weather or bad. And going out in the bad weather, it's still nice. You go, this is shit weather, but look at what I'm doing, look at where I am, and look at all of this. You accept that as a good thing. And Marcus Aurelius would say you don't control the conditions, you control your response to the conditions. The weather, it's an external, a preferred indifferent at best, and an obstacle at worst. And your virtue and your attention and your choices, those are the things that matter. And here's what's interesting, that that all sounds simple until you're actually doing it, until you carefully prepared clay that you've put all into the buckets and put in a nice little spot. It's all getting rained on, and it's all turning into, you've gone to the effort of, making it not mush anymore. The little bowl that you've created that hasn't yet been fired, but you thought you'd leave it out in the sun to just bake a while, is just completely turned to effectively paper mache. And moment by moment, and how you choose to respond is the important thing. This is where Stoicism stops being so abstract. The clay, it's just gotten too wet. Everything just is slipping, and it then becomes too hard. It just becomes too hard to to work with. The clay that I went to the effort last week of like making into these nice little wedged little balls of clay that I could then make stuff with has now slipped back into something that just doesn't function as what I'd intended it to be by this point. It's transforming whether I want it to or not. I can control my attention. I can control aspects of how I deal with that. I can control where I put my hands, like if there's certain parts of it that'll still be workable and manageable, if you know, I can just use a little bit of it rather than the whole lot. I can control whether I panic about it or whether I stay focused or I go with it. And those are the things that I can control. And that's it. Those are the things that it's up to me. And everything else, the rain, the wind, the rate at which the clay was absorbing the water anyway after all the efforts of getting it to the point that I got it to. The structural integrity of the things that I made that I'd left out in the weather, none of that's up to me, except for leaving it outside. That was, entirely up to me. But, all these things are out of my control. And Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, and not outside events. Realise this and you'll find strength. Easy to write in a meditation, a lot harder to embody when your art is literally dissolving into the ground. And here's the shift. What if I stop making that trying to work and just go with it? What if I just start making that with the weather and see where that takes it, how that affects it and what that makes of it. The rain and the wind and the wild weather last week isn't an obstacle to my plan. It's information about what's actually possible right now. The pieces are not necessarily what I wanted to make or I was anticipating. The weather made that plan impossible, but it's also becoming something I couldn't have planned. It's got the impact of raindrops and the weather and the wind having blown it off where it was sitting, chipped it, cracked it, dissolved it, created new textures, created new forms that have been determined by how that weather has worked around it and over it. And this is where Stoicism connects to postmodern philosophy as well, in unexpected ways. Foucault talked about how power works through us, not just on us, how we're both constrained and constituted by powers beyond our control. The weather isn't just constraining my work and the pots and the clay. It's producing new possibilities I never would have discovered if I'd been working and had it all sitting in a controlled environment and in perfect conditions. My choice isn't between control and chaos. It's about what kind of choices I bring to the conditions that I can't control. Marcus Aurelius called obstacles fuel to the fire, not because obstacles are secretly good, but because how we respond to obstacles is actually where virtue lives and where actual creativity happens. The Stoics thought that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. I judged the rain as a problem. The clay had no such judgment, it just responded to the conditions. And this piece carries information about the weather that made it and the environment that made it. It's documentation of forces beyond its own control, shaped by choices within control, and that's all any kind of making is, really. Next week, Lao Tzu and Wu Wei, the art of not trying. If Stoicism is about accepting what we can't control, Taoism is about what happens when you stop trying to control anything at all. Subscribe if you've ever tried to fight reality and lost. Tell me, what taught you the difference between controlling circumstances and choosing your response? Subscribe if you've ever fought reality and lost. And tell me, what taught you the difference between controlling circumstances and choosing your response? I'll see you next week. Pretty cool where I've ended up.